The wind pushed dust across the empty road and made the windmill squeak like an old fiddle. Inside the small ranch house, a single lantern burned with a steady, low flame. Caleb sat at the table with a worn halter in his hands. He liked work that could be finished. A strap could be mended. A hinge could be oiled. A fence post could be set straight. Those were simple things in a world that was wide and unsure. He pulled the needle through the leather, tied off a knot, and listened to the stove tick as it cooled and to the clock on the shelf count. The seconds like soft hoofbeats. A quiet knock came close to midnight. It was not loud, just firm, like a person who had used up a long day and still chose to stand. Caleb set the halter down and went to the door. Cold air slipped in when he opened it. A woman stood on the step, wrapped in a gray blanket edged with small dark beads. She was Apache with calm eyes and a strong jaw. Dust lined the folds of the blanket. Her lips trembled from the night air, but her gaze did not. "Tonight I choose your bed," she said. Her voice was careful and slow. Each word stood on its own feet. "If you are a good man." Caleb's surprise was real, but his manners were steady. He stepped back at once to make space and to stop the wind from biting her. "Come in," he said. "The stove still holds heat. There is soup. I will take the chair." She entered with the quiet grace of someone raised to keep balance even when tired. She held her hands to the stove and closed her eyes for a breath, like a person warming both skin and spirit. Caleb poured hot water from the kettle, set a cup and bowl on the table, and laid down a spoon. She did not rush. She sat, folded her hands, took one calm breath, and only then began to eat, small, neat bites that showed patience even in hunger. "My name is Caleb," he said. "Most call me Cal." "Anya," she said. "I have walked far," he nodded. He brought a clean sheet from the trunk and shook it so it fell smooth across the bed. He slid on a fresh pillowcase, the one his sister had sewn with tiny blue stitches long ago. He took a wool blanket from its peg and held it open so she could wrap herself more fully if she wished. He did these small things in a quiet rhythm. Small things mean a lot when a person is worn thin. "Thank you," she said. "I ask only once. I keep it honest. You will not have to ask again," he said. "Rest." She moved toward the bed and paused at the doorway. Her face showed that she was counting something inside her heart. Then she eased down, kept the gray blanket around her shoulders, and lay on her left side. Caleb turned the lantern low so the room held a soft, wheat-colored light. He lifted another blanket to tuck at the foot of the bed, and as he smoothed it, his hand brushed the blanket near her middle. He went still. Beneath the blanket, a small firm push met his palm. It was a quiet hello from a life not yet born. He lifted his hand back at once, and his voice dropped into a gentle place. "You are carrying," he said. Anya looked at him with steady eyes. "Yes," she said. "Almost the last moon." Caleb felt the room change. He had opened his door to one traveler. Now 2 lives were under his roof. The old quilt on the rocker looked like it should soon cover small shoulders. The kettle on the stove was no longer only for him. The floorboards seemed to ask for quiet steps. He took a breath and let his thoughts fall in order. "Then you take my bed," he said softly. "Keep it as long as you need. I will sit by the fire. Do you need a doctor tonight?" She shook her head. "I need one quiet night," she said. "Tomorrow a midwife, Mrs. Lowry, in town. People say she is gentle." "She is," he said. "I know her." He set a pan of water to warm, laid a clean cloth by the basin, and slid a smooth river stone into the oven. When the stone was warm, he wrapped it in a towel and placed it near her feet under the covers. Warmth travels from the feet to the heart. He dimmed the room, checked the window latch, and set the chair where he could see both the bed and the stove. He did not ask questions that could wait for daylight. Night is for rest. Questions belong to the sun. After a time, Anaya spoke in the quiet. "A trader in San Pedro told me your name," she said. "He said the man on the far ridge pays fair and keeps his word with women. So I came." Caleb let the words rest inside him. "A good name is a kind of blanket, too." "I am glad you did," he said. Thunder rolled miles away. The wind eased. The stove gave a soft pop. Caleb watched the slow rise and fall of the blanket and listened for any sound that asked for help. Now and then, he added a small stick to the fire so it would not roar and would not die. His mother had said that a good fire is like a good friend. Warm, not loud. Near dawn, Anaya's hand moved. Caleb rose and brewed tea with a pinch of mint from last summer's jar. He set the cup on the table by the bed and waited until she woke enough to sip. She thanked him with a nod and drank. He noticed her fingers, strong, a bit chapped, with a narrow ring of woven horsehair at the base of her thumb. It looked like a promise to herself. He did not ask what story it held. Pain? He asked. Only a little, she said. Like wind that comes and rests. He let that answer be. He returned to the chair. His eyes grew heavy, but he stayed awake because sometimes true rest needs a guard. He thought about the small push he had felt. A tiny foot had touched his palm and said without words that life was moving in the dark, doing brave work in a quiet room. It asked him to be careful with every step he took from now on. When the first thin line of morning slid under the curtain, Caleb stood and looked outside. The sky wore a pale band in the east. The day would be calm. He brewed coffee for himself and more tea for her. Anya woke with a small smile that looked like sunlight on water. "Good morning," he said. "Good morning," she answered. "I slept." "You did," he said. "Today we go to Mrs. Lowry. We will drive slow." She nodded. "I will pay for the room," she said. "I can sew and mend. I make stew that keeps men quiet." A corner of his mouth lifted. "You owe me nothing," he said. "But if we trade something honest, your pride can stay warm." "That is good," she said, and her shoulders eased. They ate bread with honey. He stepped outside and saddled the team. He made a soft nest in the wagon bed with folded quilts, a cushion, and the wrapped warming stone. He placed a water bucket within easy reach. He checked the wheels and tightened a loose pin. The small care he gave to each detail was his way of saying welcome without big speeches. Before leaving, he went to the little shelf over the bed. The shelf held a small clock, a cracked spine Bible, and a tin of paper stars his sister had cut when she was young. He took the tin and tucked it near the quilts in the wagon. It was a small, silly thing, but it felt right to carry a sign of hope on the road. They started down the track as the sun lifted, the wagon wheels finding the worn ruts, the horses walking with easy patience. Anya watched the mesquite and ocotillo pass by, her eyes counting and blessing the things that meant water, shelter, and food. Caleb kept the reins loose and his attention wide. He spoke to the horses now and then in a low voice that steadied them. He thought about how a life can change in one night without thunder or big crowds. There had been no loud moment when the world split open. There had only been a soft push under a blanket and a calm voice at his door. Yet he felt different, as if someone had set a new map in his hands. The map had only 2 marks on it, kindness and patience, and a road between them that must be walked every day. They reached the lower rise that opened to the long slope toward town. He stopped the team to let the horses blow and to make sure Ania was comfortable. She met his look with steady calm. "I am fine," she said. "The road is kind today." "Good," he said. He adjusted the quilts, checked the stone, and climbed back up. As the wagon rolled on, he told a small story to fill the air with ordinary life. He spoke of a calf that had decided the chicken coop was its mother, and how it had followed the hens for 3 days until it learned better. Anya's mouth curved. Even a thin smile holds strength. They passed the split rock where travelers sometimes left a small pile of pebbles as a way to say, "I came through." Caleb added one from his pocket to the pile as they went by. He did not have to explain. Some signs are common language in quiet country. By mid-morning, the roofs of town showed beyond the pecan grove. Caleb looked once at Anaya to be sure she was ready. She nodded. He touched the reins and set the team into their easy, steady walk again. In his mind, he set a clear plan for the hours ahead. Reach Mrs. Lowry's porch, carry water, listen well, follow each instruction, and keep all words simple and kind. But before the town fully met them, he let the moment stretch. The road was smooth here. The light was soft. He felt the shape of change settle on him, the way a blanket settles when someone tucks it just right, and he knew, as he knew the feel of a good rope in his hand, that the small push he had felt under the blanket had already made him a different man, one who would measure each day by how gently he could hold the lives that had asked for his help. The town rose out of the heat like a soft picture, with a church steeple, a small store, and a few houses tucked under trees that kept their own shade. Caleb guided the team along the wide main street and stopped in front of the White House with the deep porch where Mrs. Lowry lived. The porch swing moved a little in the breeze and creaked like an old song. Before Caleb could knock, the door opened and the midwife stood there with her sleeves rolled and a calm light in her eyes. "You found me," she said to Anya first, as if they had agreed long ago to meet on this day. "Come in, child. The bed is ready." "Sir, water and wood by the back steps. There is coffee on the stove if you need it." "Thank you," Caleb said. His voice was steady. His hands were already moving. He lifted Ania down with care as if the world were made of thin glass and he had been trusted to carry it. Inside the house, the air smelled like soap, clean cloth, and something sweet baking very slow. Mrs. Lowry helped Anaya to a neat room where sunlight came through white curtains and made a square on the quilt. The midwife moved like a small, quick river, never harsh, always sure. Her hands were warm. Her voice was gentle and plain. Caleb did as he was told. He set 2 buckets of fresh water by the kitchen door, stacked split wood near the stove, and wiped his boots so the floor would stay clean. He did not hover. He did not ask nervous questions. When the midwife needed another basin or a towel, he brought it before she finished asking, as if he were reading a quiet list written in the air. Once, Mrs. Lowry looked up at him with approval soft in her face. "You are useful," she said. "Stay near, listen well, and do not crowd. This is a day for calm feet." Caleb nodded. He sat on the porch within earshot and drank a small cup of coffee he did not taste. He watched the road because watching something steady helps a man keep steady. A boy on a red wagon rolled past, a dog behind him wagging hard. A woman carrying bread crossed the street and waved. Life went on in its simple way while a great small thing was happening behind the white curtains. Inside, Anya breathed through each wave of work with her jaw relaxed and her hands open. Mrs. Lowry spoke to her in measured words, like stepping stones set across a stream. "That is strong. That is good. Rest between. Breathe now. You are close." The midwife's tone never made fear. It made room. Near noon, the storekeeper's wife came by with broth and a soft roll. She set the basket in the kitchen and left without making noise. Kindness often looks like this, a small act that sits on a table and waits to be used. Caleb sharpened a knife on the back step even though it was already sharp. He did not need a sharp knife. He needed to give his hands honest work. When there was nothing left to do, he took off his hat and held it with both hands, brim up like a man keeps a bowl ready for grace. He breathed slow and counted the breaths, the way he sometimes did with the horses when a storm made them uneasy. He told himself simple truths. She is strong. The midwife is good. My job is steady. Afternoon lay warm across the porch when a new sound threaded the air. Thin at first, then sure. An infant's cry, high and bright like a silver bell. Caleb stood without knowing he stood. His eyes filled in a way he could not help. He did not step into the room, because that last step belonged to the women who had done the brave work. But he watched the doorway like a man waiting for dawn. Mrs. Lowry came out with her hair a bit loose and a soft shine in her smile. "It is done," she said. "Mother and child are well. They are resting. You did right by them today." Caleb tried to answer and had to clear his throat. "Thank you," he said. He sat back down because his knees felt like someone had taken the bones out and replaced them with warm cotton. He looked up into the pecan leaves. The sky beyond them was a clear, honest blue. That night he slept on the porch with his coat for a blanket, not because there was no bed for him inside, but because he wanted the house quiet for the two who had done a holy thing. He woke when the rooster started his proud song and waited until the sun put a thin gold line on the porch rail. Then he knocked softly and went in when the midwife waved him through. Anya lay propped on pillows, her hair loose and bright, her face tired and peaceful. Beside her lay the smallest person Caleb had ever seen, wrapped in a soft cloth with only a dark tuft of hair and a serious little mouth showing. Anya lifted the edge of the cloth. "Meet her," she whispered. "Her name is Tala. It means a one who finds the way." Caleb stepped close like a man entering a church. "Hello, Tala," he said in a low voice. "I am Caleb. I fix fences and make flapjacks that are sometimes too thick. I can carry water and tell you where the shade is at noon." He did not know where those words came from. They just came, simple and true. Tala moved her mouth like she was thinking it over and then relaxed again, as if to say that this seemed a decent arrangement for now. Anya laughed a little, soft so the baby would not startle. "I think she likes your voice," she said. "It is steady like a wagon on a smooth road." They stayed 2 days under Mrs. Lowry's care. The house hummed with quiet order. The midwife taught Caleb how to warm a cloth and how to make a corner on a blanket that holds well. She taught him how to carry wood so the door does not bang, and how to pour water with one hand while the other hand steadies a cup near a tired mouth. She taught him to watch for small signs, the color of a cheek, the feel of a forehead, the sound of a breath. He listened like a man listens to weather. He asked few questions and remembered every answer. When it was time to go, Mrs. Lowry stood on the porch with her hands on her hips and gave him a list that was really a blessing. "Keep the room airy. Keep worry out of your voice. Let her sleep when the baby sleeps. Soups and soft food. Come back if something feels wrong, even if you cannot name it. I would rather see you twice for nothing than miss you once for something." "We will come," Caleb said. "Thank you." The road home was slow and gentle. Caleb drove as if the wagon held a lantern flame he must protect from the wind. Every dip of the wheel got a hand on the brake. Every turn was wide and easy. Anya lay on quilts and watched the sky through the open back. Tala slept, waking only to make small sounds like questions that were not urgent. When a breeze passed over mesquite, the leaves flashed pale and then dark, like fish turning underwater. The land was the same as yesterday but felt different because they were different inside it. At the ranch house, Caleb set the brake and came around. The porch step was high. Always had been a nuisance, and he loved it for the first time because it gave him an excuse to lift Anya in his arms. "May I?" he asked. "Yes," she said with trust that made him stand taller. He carried her across the threshold with quiet care while she held Tala close and smiled at the room made ready for them. He had done more than he planned that morning. The cradle stood at the foot of the bed, sanded smooth so nothing could scratch small skin. He had brushed a thin coat of oil into the wood, and it gleamed in a soft way like a good horse's coat. The window frame wore a new blue that made the light gentle. A shelf waited for the tin of paper stars. He had washed the curtains and beat the dust out of the rug. He had even oiled the door hinge, and the door now closed with a hush. Anya looked around with eyes that saw labor and love both. "You do things with care," she said. "Not only big things. Small things again and again. That is good." "It is how I know to say I'm glad you are here," he said. Days found their shape the way water finds a path. Morning started with the soft sounds of a baby, and the softer sounds of two adults learning a new rhythm. Caleb cooked oatmeal and scrambled eggs and poured coffee with his left hand, while his right arm held Tala against his shoulder. At first his hold was stiff like a man trying not to break a rare cup, but he learned fast. The baby's weight fit into the bend of his elbow like it had been made for that place. When Anya rested, Caleb did outside work with a new clock inside him. Before, he would ride a fence line end to end without looking back. Now he went out and returned more often. Drawn by a pull he did not resist. He would drop his gloves by the door, wash his hands like the midwife had shown him, and step into the quiet of the house with his voice already soft. "How are my two?" he would ask, and Anya would give him a smile that set the day right. News traveled on the slow wind to town and beyond. Some people carried it like curiosity, but most carried it like good bread to a neighbor. The storekeeper's wife sent flour and a jar of jam with a note that said, "For toast after long nights." The blacksmith stopped by with a tin of nails and a joke about how babies are the only foreman who can stop every hammer in the valley. Caleb met each kindness with thanks and with a return kindness when he could. He fixed a squeaky gate in town without charging. He brought 3 fresh eggs to a widow who loved to bake but kept few hens.